If a good doctor back home, if he had to sustain a life over here, that would be, even if you get paid 300,000 Kenyan shillings a month.
That's still not gonna be enough.
Oh my God. Your husband was providing back home, and the lifestyle was easy. Let's say swift, no stress. If they get to the United States and let's say their stature get scrapped down, they have to start all from ground zero. Because some people are being sent back to school.
You tend to see that a lot of the women from our country and our culture go and get a job, whether that's like a CNA or like a nursing tech or whatever gig they're gonna get, just so they can start earning. And what ends up happening is the woman is bringing the money home, which is a very totally different dynamic from what they were used to.
These things, I think these things are holding us back. The black tax is pretty much coming back, because I remember growing up, your parent will do everything.
Everything.
Once you've grown up, if you start getting money and they ask a loan, not even like let help me with money. If they ask you for a loan, be like, hey, give me 3,000, I'll refund you.
Yes.
When the refund day reaches, they'll be like, you've been eating in this house. I've been paying your school fees.
The African parent.
There's this behavior of, like, let's say if somebody, or let's say your sibling, asks for, like, let's say keep up money. If they ask you for 5,000, you end up sending like 10,000, because you're like,
because it's not that much.
I think they take that
to me like
entitlement. They're like, okay, I know they can do this, and let me ask for 10,000 next time.
So
let me see what they do.
do.
But the problem is, when they ask for that 10,000 is when you're like,
wait a minute,
probably they're in more trouble. Let me send 12,000 or 15,000.
There you go.
So they can handle their issue and have some little bit remaining money.
I'm telling you, it is.
Now they will be leveraging on that a lot.
Oh yeah. Be fine.
Hey guys, welcome back again to Bridging Cultures. Today we're going to be talking about how career and qualifications change and affects marriages and relationships. And with that being said, I really do appreciate everybody that's watched all the videos that we have put out there. Engage if you want to. Let us know what you want us to be discussing or talking about, so we can engage and know the differences or learn something that we don't know. And let's exchange ideas if we have to. And with that being said, I'm the host, Bryke.
And I'm Rahab.
And there you go. So, Rahab, how do you think the career and qualifications change and affects marriages and relationships? On different, from back home and the United States.
Okay. So biggest thing I think I've learned being here is a lot of the jobs or a lot of the careers you need certification. So something that maybe a husband would have done at home without having to get certified, here you have to get certified to do it. And I think that's the one problem that affects a lot of Africans when they come here, because they're not used to doing it I don't want to say per se legal, but the proper way. Because at home, let's say, for example, if you have a retail shop or if you do something in the line of maybe fixing something, or even it could be even an electrician. Most of the time, if you knew how to do the thing, you just did the thing. But over here, you have to get certified to do that thing. And I've had an experience, whether it's my friends or watching families come here, where a lot of them struggle to get their certificate or get certified in that area. And then that kind of holds them back from, doing the job or starting to earn an income immediately when they land here. And that can affect family dynamics, because, I mean, if you don't have money coming through the door, then bills are not getting paid and whatnot.
I think you're speaking about the qualifications about the, I think if I give an example of like the one that you've given about working on furniture. If I have to remember correctly, you didn't need any certifications, or you didn't need no government sign-offs for you to do that, to have that business. But I think the problem in the United States is anything that you start, the government has to dig into it.
True. Yeah. Yeah.
Even if it's a side hustle, if your side hustle is too big and it's noticed by the IRS, you have to produce documentation about it.
Yeah, that's true.
And that's the thing. I think that's the difference, because certifications and all that, they may tear down the business,
Yeah.
or they make you close down.
Yeah. Or they even discourage you because I mean, if you're thinking like if I have to get or to do classes or to go to school for this certification, most people are like maybe coming here when they're done with school, and at home somebody had let's even say a huge shop, franchise, whatever you want to call it, business, and now you're telling this person that who was a business person like, hey, you got to go back to school and relearn what you already know how to do. They're like, no, I'm not. Like, there's that resistance.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
But I think the system forces you.
True.
The system in the United States forces you to go back to school.
Yeah.
And I'd like to use a field that most people are so common with. I think being a doctor, being a nurse.
Yeah.
You might have graduated in Kenya or each whatever country you're coming from.
Yeah.
You have certifications, degrees, all that. But I think when you come to the United States, they need you to have more of that. Because I think they take their system differently of being qualified to do that particular thing that you're trying to do.
Yeah.
Is a little bit different from other countries.
It is. It is.
And I think for them, I think they're trying to cover they're trying to cover their end on liabilities.
That too. That too.
Yeah.
And then I guess what you said is true. Like the system is very different. And you find that maybe, let's say, if I did nursing or medicine back in Kenya, there are certain things that are not the same here and there.
Yeah.
Which to some extent I do get, but you can also see how that would discourage somebody from like wanting to go back to school because in your head you're like, but I've done these things, I've gone to school, I've learned. I've had a friend who did not have to do any more classes. So one thing I know that, let's say, for example, if you're a lawyer, doctor, or a nurse, I think they give you the opportunity to challenge whatever the exam that certifies you to do the thing.
Yeah.
So, but the problem runs into, let's say, for example, me and you know that English is not our first language, or even if we're back at home, we're not necessarily communicating purely in English.
Yeah, one language we use.
So, and then if they find that you're lacking or your articulation has some heavy accent, then they're asking you to take all these English classes, and it becomes hard for people to wrap their minds around that.
That's true. You have spoken about the language. I think it affects, and I think it kind of makes most companies not give you a promotion. Because if they're having issues with your communication, how are you going to close down on businesses if it comes down to it?
True.
So I think that's how most people lose that position.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I hate to say it, but I think to some extent it might feel a little bit racism.
It does.
Yeah.
It does. You can have those feelings of feeling not less than, but different.
I mean, yeah, we do feel that every time because the approach is different. How somebody approaches you. And I think in business environments, corporate world, they can hold a meeting how they hold a meeting usually or normal.
Yeah.
But when it comes to you, it's like they're trying to treat you like a baby now. You're delicate. But you already know your standards, qualifications, education meets their standards too. It's only that now they're speaking to you like a baby. It's like you don't understand what you're doing.
Yeah.
And I think that kind of discourages somebody because you feel like I'm not considered one of them.
It makes you feel different, and like we say, less than, because if you're and think of it, even let's say, for example, someone was practicing, let's even say a doctor at home, and you know the kind of what you bring to the table, if I may, your qualification, maybe you've had maybe years of experience back in Kenya treating patients, working with patients, so you know what you bring to the table. So to come back in, it's almost like, oh, you got to start from ground zero, from square one. it can be demoralizing because think of a doctor in our country, the kind of stature they carry, or the caliber of like how people treat them, just who they are. And then when you come here, it's like, no, you're not that important.
You're not that enough. You have
Right.
to prove it.
You have to prove that, hey,
Yeah.
what you and I get on their part why they're trying to do that, because like you say, liabilities, they're trying to cover themselves. We don't want you to do something that you practice in your country and then hurt a patient or do something that's gonna
Now it's
cause
gonna
us to
affect the
get
whole
reliable.
institution, not just one person.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense. And then you say we said about how it affects families. So let me put it into aspect. The same. We're using the same field of career. Let's use a doctor.
Okay.
If you come from Kenya, you're a doctor.
Yes.
You are qualified. You are
Yeah.
everything. You have your degrees, probably PhDs too.
Yes.
When you get over here, or from the people that have gotten over here, do you think they start at the same par or bar they were at?
No, I don't think so. I don't think they start at the same par or bar.
Yeah, so I think I've seen somebody spoke about it too. And I think it's more realistic than it is theoretical talk.
Yeah.
When you get here, life starts immediately.
Yes.
It starts immediately.
Yes.
You don't have that span of let me think through, let me get things figured
myself
out.
together,
No.
my mind together.
If you get a house, you've already got into a bill that you have to pay for.
Absolutely.
And at that point, you still have a challenge of getting into a hospital that still doesn't know your qualification levels. I mean, they already know how you're being carried back home.
Yeah.
You have all that stature and all that.
Yeah.
That's back home.
Yeah.
They don't see it over here.
Yeah.
You still have to prove that. So they bring you down. They tear you down a little bit.
Yeah.
Then you have to raise yourself up.
But
at that point, I think everybody, we are all humans.
Yes.
That ego you had back home, I'm good enough.
Crushed.
Yeah, I'm good enough. So when you get over here, you're being crushed down.
You're not good enough.
It's pretty much like starting from zero, but not completely zero. But at the same time, it's zero because the bills kick in.
Oh yeah.
And let's say if you have a family, they're still dependent on you. And the bills back home are different from there over here. And if you're used to a good house back home, a good house out here is going to cost you. It's going to dig deeper into your pockets.
Most definitely.
So I think that kind of it stresses somebody out.
It would.
And sometimes people give up to prove themselves. And somebody might end up saying, I might as well just start from somewhere else and pick myself up.
That's true.
Because if the hospital keeps on, they don't give you the job immediately. They keep on taking you through classes.
Yep. So
you have to come for practice today. You have to come for this today. It's not like you're scheduled to work. You just schedule to come and see how they do things.
Yeah.
And they don't pay you the same as you used to get paid back home.
I don't think so, because my thing is, until, like we're saying, until you get that certification, really, you don't really start working or getting paid, because there is, like you're saying, life starts as soon as you land. And we both know bills don't wait for.
They don't?
It's like, if you have rent to pay, rent is due.
And that's the problem. It's not the same explanation that we give back home. Like,
no.
Hey, could you give me until next month? I'll give you everything.
Yeah. Or even back at home, people have their own homes. They've built their own homes, so you don't have to pay rent, really. Because if you built your home from ground up, there's no rent. So it's fully paid for, versus here where we have mortgage, we have rent. That's a whole totally different ball game. And then, like you're saying, like, think of the stature of who you are as a doctor in our country, what you represent, who you are. And then now when you come here, it's almost like you're being told, hey, yes, we know you're a doctor in Kenya, but you got to prove yourself here. We don't recognize whatever you did. So let's have you prove to us that you really are what
who
you say
they say you are,
right,
or who you say you are. Yeah.
And while you're trying to prove yourself, and until you get that certification, there's no money coming in.
True.
So you tend to see that's gonna, like you say, affect families, a lot of families, because if
I'm not pulling in the same income I was pulling in back home, I'm not gonna be able to sustain the lifestyle that we want to live.
And if you think about it, it's not even sustaining the lifestyle, because back at home was a totally different lifestyle. And like we're saying, there was no mortgage, because if I build my house from scratch, there's no rent. I'm done with that part. That's already taken care of. So all I have to worry about is food. And let's say, for example,
probably
even
school fees.
Yeah. And over here, it's like, now there's rent, there's utilities, there's transportation, there's all of these things. And maybe even back at home, this person had outright bought their car.
Yeah.
Because that's another thing I think I've learned here is like, I don't think growing up I had exposure to like credit, if I may.
Mm-hmm.
Like you either had the money or you didn't. And if you had the money, you got the thing. And if
Yeah.
you didn't have the money, you work until you get the money to get the thing.
Yeah.
Over here is like you can have the thing before you get the money.
True.
So it's very different dynamics. And I think ultimately they do affect family dynamics, because if this person is a breadwinner and they're not bringing the money like they used to, then there's a strain on the family.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So yeah, you're saying the strain on the family. What do you think? Like, let's say if somebody was married,
Mm-hmm.
I think let me use a case scenario. I don't remember the name, to be honest. He was a doctor. That's why I keep on talking about that. But he was a doctor too. He came
Yeah.
from Kenya. He had his stature and everything.
Mm-hmm.
He got over here. He expected the same thing to happen,
Mm-hmm.
but he had to tear it down because, like I said, life begins after you land.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter
Yeah.
what it is, because you
Yeah.
don't own a house here.
Yeah.
And before you own a house here, you have to go through some channels, credit score,
Hoops.
all that before you learn everything about credit score. Because back home, we don't have no credit score.
Mm-mm.
It's your
Never.
money, your house,
Yeah.
or your credentials at the bank because of your income. They can give you a loan.
Mm-hmm.
Over here, you've not been earning over here. They don't know.
So they don't
So
recognize
they don't
you.
know how they can trust you enough to pay anything.
That's true.
And they cannot give you the money without a credit score either.
They're not.
So yeah, I think that doctor came back.
Mm-hmm.
He had to start again from CNA.
What?
Yeah. He hated it. The thing is, it's the ego, because you know where I'm at. And now I'm being toned down to where I'm not.
That's rough.
But at the same time, it's the chase of the American dream. Probably back home, the doctors, I don't want to say for sure that I know.
Mm.
I'd say roughly, how much do you think doctors get paid back home?
Oof. It depends. Are we talking shillings or dollars?
Shillings, not dollars.
It really depends on where you're working, but on average, I think, oh gosh, it's hard to tell, but it's good money.
Yeah, it's good money. But if you had to convert that into dollars, do you think it can sustain somebody over here?
No, because you know why?
Uh-huh.
Because like we keep saying, it's like life is very different here.
True.
But I don't think it would. I don't think. I believe this is what I think.
I mean, let's give it this way.
A number.
Even if they earned 100,000 Kenyan shillings
Okay.
per month,
100 Kenya shillings per month is how much here?
that's 1,000. Nah, it's 90. It's 900 and something. $920.
Exactly. And then if you think of,
That's outlaws. Even it's not even paying a mortgage.
that's what I'm saying. It's the expenses that are here
Yeah.
that don't. The math is not mathing, so they would have to earn more to be able to
So
afford.
that would be, let's say, if a good doctor back home, if he had to sustain a life over here, that would be, even if you get paid 300,000 Kenyan shillings a month.
That's still not going to be enough.
Oh my God.
Exactly. But this is why I say, like how we don't have certain bills are not there, because most people I know who have certain careers in Kenya have built their own homes.
And that's the thing, because back home, if you have your own house, you can dig your own well, which means you're getting free water from your own. You're getting a source of water. I think the only expense back home would be electricity.
Which is not that much either.
Electricity and what else?
Food, pretty much.
Wi-Fi.
And that's cheap too.
And phone bills, roughly, right?
Yeah.
And I'd say car insurance if you have a car.
Yeah.
And then the other things are just basic food and stuff. Even if you earn 300,000 Kenyan shillings, that can sustain everything.
Oh, that will sustain you. And don't forget that the food, the just in general, life is cheaper.
Mm-hmm.
Even food, like food in Kenya, I feel like.
And by the way, if you're a doctor or you have a better career back home, let us know. Because we might be projecting something that is not true.
That is true.
But we're trying to use probabilities, trying to see, equate and see how somebody can live the life they have back home and life they can have in the United States.
That is true.
And we're trying to see, it's not a comparison. We're not trying to compare. It's just, we're trying to see how careers, if you had to switch from, like, let's say back home, looking for a better place to work at, if you had to come over here, what would it be? But let us know if we're saying something wrong or we are projecting rumors.
Yeah.
These are just our thoughts. We're not saying we know everything. It's our
Certainly
thoughts,
not.
and we're
No.
trying to equate and see if it's possible.
Yes.
And by the way, yeah, affecting relationships.
Mm-hmm.
And I know as a husband, you're a provider.
Yeah.
When you fail to provide
Mm-hmm.
in the United States,
Mm-hmm.
like let's say in Kenya, you used to do everything,
Mm-hmm.
or let's say whichever.
Mm-hmm.
This topic is not supposed to be only Kenyans. Whichever country you're coming from, Nigeria, Uganda, whatever,
Yes.
be it Asia.
Mm-hmm.
If your husband was providing back home
Mm-hmm.
and the lifestyle was easy, let's say swift,
Mm-hmm.
no stress. If they get to the United States and let's say their stature get scrapped down, they have to start all from ground zero. Because some people are being sent back to school.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and I feel like I always like to say the lifestyle and the culture in our countries has afforded us to have that dynamic of husband and wife. Husband is a provider because predominantly growing up, that's what husbands did. They went out, did the thing, brought bacon home, if I may, and provided while the woman took care of the family home. When you come to this country, or when you come to the Western countries, or let's say even America, dynamics in that, like those family dynamics change because now, and I've seen this from experience, is your husband, who, like we're using the example of a doctor, and like we say, life begins when you land. So there's that space between when you guys got here and when this husband is going to be certified, get the job, and start earning an income. So there's a time period where there's no money coming through, but we have to eat.
Yeah.
We have to pay rent.
Yeah.
We have to do all of these other things.
Yeah.
And you find that the woman who her primary job at home was taking care of the home family decides, hey, let me just get a gig that can sustain us until your thing pans through.
Out. Yeah.
So you tend to see that a lot of the women from our country and our culture go and get a job, whether that's like a CNA or like a nursing tech or whatever gig they're gonna get, just so they can start earning. And what ends up happening is the woman is bringing the money home, which is a very totally different dynamic from what they were used to. Back at home, husband went to work, I took care of the family. Now it's flipped. And when that flips, I feel like, no shade to men, women, I think we adapt quicker than men.
I mean, it's true.
And then this man is in the house all day. I go to work and he's in the house, and now I'm coming back home. And normally he wasn't used to being at home. He was out there doing the thing. Now he has to sit in the house with his thoughts, with all of these things. You're not even home. And I guarantee you, this man is like, what am I doing? And there's that ego that we keep saying. And now he runs into the trouble of, well, now I got to start cooking.
I'm less of a man that I'm supposed to.
Yes. And then now that becomes trouble, because if you feel less of a man, or you feel like you're not valued because you're not bringing what you used to bring, it can really affect with your mind. And if there's no communication between the two parties where we're like, hey, we're in this together, we're trying to figure this life together, you're not less than because I need you. Because let's say we have kids and I have to go to work, then you take care of the kids, but then it doesn't click right away.
It never does.
No.
Because I think men naturally are not
They're not natural.
I was going to say caregivers. They're not naturally brought up to nurture for kids and the house.
No.
They just provide. The woman nurtures the house.
And
I think when a man brings himself down to that position, he has to do it. Kind of feels icky. He's like, oh, this is not me. This is not me.
Yeah, it's not natural.
Yeah.
It doesn't come natural for a man to do that. I feel like it's more of a learned behavior than nature, because naturally, or how a man is built is, like we say, protection, providing.
Yeah.
So that tends, and I know there's society norms around this conversation, and it can be very controversial. But like I said, there's a lot of things that affect. There's culture, there's nature, there's nature, there is environment, all of these things that affect the dynamics of a family.
Yeah.
But when we compare where we came from versus now where we
are,
are,
yeah.
it's like night
The
and
environment, the culture
day.
is different.
Yes, and then trying to adjust to that, it takes a while. And if there's no communication, open communication, or if there's no very what's the word, you have to bear in mind when a man's ego is bruised, you have to really be careful how you approach your man, because you just can come hard and be like, oh, you're not doing da, 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 da. But it's easier said than done, because if I'm frustrated because I have to go out and work, and you're trying to figure out, oh my God, I was a doctor in Kenya, but now I'm here sitting at home taking care of kids, and this whatever turmoil is going through your head, and I'm coming at you with like all of this energy from work and the stress and everything, and I'm not even paying attention to how this is affecting you. Oh, we're going to be in constant conflict.
True.
And then things just start not getting better because we're not effectively communicating. Not, I don't think we're communicating to hear each other out. It's more attack mode.
It's more like I'm trying to be right
than
you. It's not right than you are. I'm trying to be right.
Yes.
It doesn't mean you're wrong. It's just I'm right. It's only that you're feeling some type of way about it.
Right.
You haven't spoken about that. Do I? I'm not going to say all women, but some women, if the dynamics change, they will have a disrespect on their man, regardless of what it is.
That is true.
They will disrespect their man, honestly.
Yeah. Unfortunately, because...
And do you think that's a good thing? Like, let's say, you mentioned about communication. And I think once some women, I'm not saying all, some women, when they learn they're making more money than their man, they feel like they cannot respect you enough.
That is also a true assessment, I believe. And and this is what I always tell. I think I've told this maybe to my friends, or maybe even told myself. I always say every family dynamic, every relationship is different, but then you also have to consider how we grew up. And also now I want us to put ourselves in the context of, if this is a husband and a wife who came from Kenya, and in that context, you are the provider. I didn't have to worry about going to work. I didn't have to worry about clocking in and out. I stayed home with the kids, make sure the home is taken care of, and you brought money home. Then now bring us to this new country, new culture, new environment, and that has changed. There's some frustration on my end too, as well as you, because now the dynamics have completely changed. I'm the one now bringing the money. Now, granted, it's not that much money. It's money to help us sustain life.
Yeah.
And you're not, maybe let's say you haven't gotten the job or you haven't got your certification. So there's this space where you're still trying to figure out what are you going to do. So I tend to feel like resentment, if I'm being able to answer, like, do women hate men that who earn less? Not necessarily. There is that, but I feel like if I'm used to you being the provider, now you're not. It's an adjustment for me to make in my mind,
your headspace. Or...
And then, like I was saying, like maybe I dealt with a stressful situation at work, and then I come home and find like you're still struggling with whatever is in your head, and maybe you're not used to like cooking or cleaning or maintaining the home, because that was not you all throughout our lives. So you haven't done the thing. So I'm coming in with the frustration from work, but then when I get to the house,
it frustrates you more because you haven't found nothing done yet.
Yes, and now I have to start doing, okay, and now I got to think about what are the kids going to eat, the family going to eat, on top of me having to deal with what I dealt with. And then at that moment, I'm like, but what are you doing? You've been home all day. So I start taking out my frustration on you, and I start resenting the fact that you're not bringing money home, not because I hate you, but because that situation is
it's wearing down on you.
There you go. It's wearing me out, because now I have to do both. And I start feeling like I'm alone in this thing, but it doesn't.
But don't you think that's where the point of communication comes in?
That's what I was about to say. I was about to say it doesn't justify how I approach you with the matter. Like, I feel like as a human being, which I always keep saying, like, sometimes it's easier said than done. I always say I always try to put myself in the next person's shoe. But this is where communicating your needs clearly and respectfully is important, because, like I said, if I come at you and you attract more with kind, sweet words versus like pointed
Arrogance and stuff.
fingers.
Yeah.
So it's all in how do we communicate, and knowing that I'm not fighting you, we're trying to figure life together. And I always tell families, like, you have to think back to, like, the first time you guys met. This is something that you wanted to do life together, and sometimes life is going to start throwing things at you, and just reminding yourself, like, hey, we're not fighting each other, we're trying to fight this thing that's coming in
the
between.
situation that we have right now.
And knowing that I have your back and you have my back. But also, like you keep saying, communicating is so important, not just how, but open and honest communication.
Open and honest.
Yeah.
Do you think that works all the time, honestly?
No. I don't think it works all the. Do you think it works all the time?
I honestly don't think it does.
No.
In as much as you have I think if you had to have an open and an honest relationship, it has to have a foundation from the beginning. That when you guys met,
yes,
if you are open with each other, if you are honest with each other,
yeah,
so it doesn't affect how you communicate going on forward. But if in the beginning you had things you didn't say about, you had things you didn't mention, so when it comes deeper into the relationship, it becomes harder to express them. Because now if I say this, I already know I didn't tell you this before, how you gonna feel about it? Because you did not express yourself back then, how you felt about it, or how you did this thing. So I don't know how to give you the full honesty, because I'm scared of the reaction I'll get back, because I know it was my fault, I didn't tell you.
True.
Now the lashback is gonna be on me.
Absolutely.
So it affects me enough to know I'm not supposed to say this,
and then
and still it affects the communication, because if you do not understand me fully, you will not be able to express yourself in full.
No. And my thing is, if you didn't tell me the thing and now it's starting to serve, like, it even breaks trust.
Yeah, it does.
Because, I mean, you're bringing
and it
this
creates
thing.
Oh my God.
It's a domino effect from here
and
on.
It creates doubt, because now every time you tell me something, at the back of my end, I'm like, no, not my end. In my head, I'm like, you're just telling me this to cover up for things you're not saying.
Facts. It's hard, and I
Oh
think
my God.
families, like, dynamics, and it's like this life here affects a lot of things when it comes to family and relationships.
Yeah. So if it affects people like that, when it comes down to, because I know most couples, they have to go back to the drawing board, finances, how we managing them, what bills are we paying, what money are we spending where, are we eating out too much, what money are we sending where. So when it comes to that, do you think it affects how they treat their family back home?
Absolutely, because if money is tight around here, and let's say, for example, and I think we've touched on this before, of I always like saying ideology, but not really, but what the conception
is it
of
expectation?
It's that, and also, like, coming here, people back in Kenya believe that this is a land of opportunity, which it is. And there's this notion of life is great, there's money here, and there's all of these things, which there is. They don't know the reality of, like, yes, there's opportunities, yes, there's money, but then there's also day-to-day expenses, day-to-day bills, which we never had back at home. Like we keep saying, like, a lot of us back at home had built our homes from scratch, so we don't have rent or mortgage, and then you come down here and have that. So there's this is going to put like a strain on your family dynamics, not just within your own family, but also like your family members, extended families, like your parents, your siblings, and whatnot. Because if we're trying to get it together here and maintain a household where there's only one income now, that's not
It's not
that
too.
enough
Yeah, it's not enough.
because you're not doing the thing yet, because whether it's your certification or still trying to figure it out. I don't have enough money to send back home to my family members to help them with the thing, because my own family is just trying to survive. And then that becomes an issue on the other end, because now they start thinking like, oh, now you're being stingy or mean or don't want to help us. It just affects both dynamics just in general, because we're trying to survive.
So does it bring hate
It
between the
could.
families?
It could.
And what do you think that needs to be done if something like that happens?
So let's talk about entitlement for a little bit.
Okay, entitlement. Who is more entitled?
I think family members back at home have some level of that. But then I also go back to asking myself, did I create that monster?
But how would you create that monster if it's already laid on you? Because I think for me, the one thing that I think is when people get their green cards,
Yes.
how they get them.
Yes.
Probably your parent went somewhere, they asked for money because you have to pay for flight ticket, you have to pay for either food, accommodation. If you get to the United States, like we said, landing, first day, it's bills. So let's say they had to pay your rent for, oh my God, they would have had to ask for, how you
So
call
much
it?
money.
Yeah.
Millions, if not.
If they had to ask for a loan.
That would be a lot of money.
Because now you're responsible for that because it's helping you.
True.
But after that, how long do you think it runs?
And I think to answer the question of how I'm wondering if this is a monster we create, there's something I think I've even talked to you about is, for example, you are the first sibling in your family. It's not. So one thing I know is when we come here and we start earning money, most of us, let's even not even think about the family dynamic or a married couple. This is probably the first time you ever earn money with a job. And when you think about your siblings and your younger siblings, there is a level of responsibility that comes on to like the firstborn to be like, hey, I have to either help my siblings elevate or get to a certain point. And it's almost like not obligation, but it's almost like a duty of, there's a sense of duty, like I have to help my family.
Yeah.
And we end up doing that because we care about these people. We love these people, regardless of what we're going through here. I feel like it's a monster we create because we do not communicate the struggles that we're going through here. Because how could you communicate to people who think America is the land of milk and honey and start explaining to them like, no, it's not what we will raise up to think it is. It's like almost a betrayal, not to them, but to you too. So you try to almost cover it up and act like that's not a thing and tell yourself like, I got to do better. I got to work harder. I got to make more money just to be able to take care of them. And you continue supporting them however you can.
Yeah.
So there's never a day, regardless of how your situation is here, have they ever lacked. They always have. Now, let's say things get so hard, you're like, I can't afford this. And you cut off that. They're confused, like, what do you mean? You've always given it. You've always provided. You've always sent money. So what's different now?
Yeah.
But there was lack of communication again. So then it started becoming like, now that's where I come and ask, is it a monster I created? Because I never was comfortable enough to communicate freely and say, hey, what we thought about this country is not what it is. I'm struggling in this way. I'm trying to make ends meet. I have all of these things that I'm responsible for. So for the next maybe couple of months, I might not be able to send you as much as I can. But then you go back to like, I'm the older sibling. I'm the older brother. My mom is struggling in Kenya. She's probably not doing better than I am.
Yeah.
So that heaviness of like, I have to help them eats you up to a point where you're like, I will do whatever I have to do to make sure they're okay.
Yeah.
So I think that's why I'm like, okay, are we creating a monster there? But I don't think it is. It's
I
It's
would
such
say, I would say we are not intentionally creating the monster,
hmm
but we are giving them the lee. How you call it?
the
The leeway. We are
hmm
giving them the leeway of expecting.
yes.
Because it's the same. I would say I would put that situation to us too.
hmm
If I had somewhere that money is coming from and I'm not
Yes,
sweating to get it,
you would give it.
I'm more reluctant.
Yeah.
Because I know I just need to say a phone call, be like, and start begging, be like,
hmm
hey, I haven't eaten. Honestly, I'm trying to
hmm
eat tonight. I don't have
Yes.
nothing.
Yeah.
Because you already know they're gonna send you,
Yeah.
regardless of how small it is.
hmm
You still got money.
Yep.
Unlike it is someone who's working for it.
hmm hmm
They know if I don't do it,
It
I'm
in
not gonna
there.
have it.
Yeah. Yeah.
But at the same time, speaking of that,
hmm
now it comes to the point of, let's say, for instance,
hmm
like we said, once you land the bills start and everything, bro, your
hmm
mom helped you back home, all that.
Yeah.
They are not gonna help you every time because now the
No.
money back home is gonna accumulate so high they cannot pay. So when you get over here, probably you got 2 months of that. It's not really comfort, but
hmm
adjustment.
hmm
You adjust to it,
hmm
then you start helping her pay off that debt,
Yes.
of which you won't pay in 1 day or 2 months or whatever.
No.
It's going to take a little bit of that, but in the
hmm
same time, in that span time of period, you still gotta pay for things back home. Still,
Yeah.
probably gonna say, I don't have food for this. I don't have.
hmm
I need pocket money for
Yeah.
either your sister or your brother. I need school fees for your brother or your sister.
hmm
I got probably if you got cars. Hey,
hmm
my car has an issue.
hmm
I haven't fixed it. You'll only fix so much. You'll only do too much
Yeah.
or so much,
Yeah.
and you still got yourself to fix
Exactly.
and care for.
Exactly. And God
At
forbid you
that
have a
point,
family.
at that point,
hmm
there's a leverage that you use in the United States,
Mm-hmm.
which is debt.
Yes.
When you got credit cards, they can
Mm-hmm.
help you do a lot of
Mm-hmm.
things.
Mm-hmm.
But the more you keep on doing it, the
The
more you
more you
keep
get it,
on digging into debt.
absolutely. You start getting into this rabbit hole that you can't get yourself out
Yeah,
of.
because if you have to take yourself to school
Mm-hmm.
for international students, no.
Yeah.
If you don't have, how do they call that thing?
uh,
Sponsorship. If you
mm-hmm.
don't have a sponsorship,
Mm-hmm.
you have to come out of pocket.
You have to.
It is not cheap.
Oh no.
It is not
No.
cheap. So for, oh my God, I want, honestly, I want most Kenyans to understand, even if it's brother, friend, sister,
mm-hmm.
whatever, mother, auntie, students, college is cheap. College can cost you like 4,000 a month. No,
Mm-hmm.
4,000 for a month.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, we transform that to Kenya. Somebody can build a house and forget about stress.
Oh, that part.
It doesn't have to be the best house ever.
But that's a lot
It
of
can
money.
be a makeshift
Mm-hmm.
that you can live in without worrying about rent somewhere
Yeah.
else.
Yeah. It's a lot of chunk of money.
And that's $4,000 that will be transformed into $500,000.
Yep.
And that's only 4 months. And you're in debt. It's not that you had that cash money, it's in debt.
Yeah.
You still have to finish school because you have a goal to be either graduating as a
Yeah.
nurse, BSN,
Yeah.
all that.
Mm-hmm.
That will run you for a college, will run you 2 years.
Yes.
That will be 4 times 3, that's
Mm-hmm.
$12,000.
Yep. Yep.
And you have to do 2 years.
If you have to do 2 years,
$24,000.
yep, that's a lot of money. If you translate that into Kenyan money, it's a lot.
It can put somebody's house on the ground. That's only college. And you got people who have to go to universities.
That's true.
That would 10,000 for
More.
4 months.
Yeah.
And
That's a lot.
universities you gotta do 4 years.
It starts adding up. And the one thing I always say is like the currency exchange and the value of our money and the dollar makes a huge difference. Because even if it's like you're saying, if your family was helping you for a couple of months until you got yourself together, if you translate how much they have to send you for you to even afford life here, it's a lot.
The way we're speaking about this right now,
Yeah.
I got a question. I got a question.
Okay.
So the way we send money back home, there's no fee.
Oh, it depends.
We're using, I'm not trying to market any app. The apps that we use to send money back home, do you get charged a fee? Not unless you use a credit card.
Not really, but I feel like there's the way they make their money. So technically they
Sure,
don't.
but is it more money though? Because if you transform your money right now
Mhm.
and you send it back home, you're getting more money that you send.
Yes, because of the value though.
My question is,
Yeah.
if somebody has to send you money from back home, what app can they use?
Ooh. So I don't know a specific one, but I have seen the difference of when someone sends money from home to here.
Did they send it to a bank or an app?
It was more of a bank, and I don't want to name the platforms they used. So it was from the bank using this specific platform. But then I've noticed that whatever money they send, obviously the dollar and the shilling is something very
It's different, yeah, but
it's gonna be less.
my question is the fee. How much fee are they paying before
That's a
you
lot.
get the money?
That's a lot. They pay a lot.
Because I remember the first day that I landed. No, my mom used to send me money.
So she had to pay the
But
fee.
she didn't send me money directly. I think it has to come where somebody has a project back home. So instead of them sending dollars, your parent can use their money to fund the project, and this guy can give you dollars to sustain your life.
Got it. That's different. I never heard of that.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Or let's say, for instance, now that we've grown so far, so good. Let's say if somebody has a bank back home,
Yeah.
your parent can go and add money to their bank, and they can give you dollars over here.
Oh wow. So
But
there's
I'm trying to
still a
see if is
fee.
there an app that can send you money from back home to here
I haven't encountered one yet.
without banks, because banks take more fees than the apps do.
I think there might be one, but I don't know because the one that we specifically use.
If somebody's sending money or receiving money from back home, let us know what app you're using, because we're trying to find that. We have a lot of apps using getting from the United States going back home. We have a lot of apps, but I've never heard of somebody sending you money from back home
Me neither.
to the United States.
I haven't heard of it.
Because I would love to find one.
I would love to do that too, because now when my experience is my mom has said to use the bank, and there's a specific, this is not an app, it's a platform that has been here for years. So it's I don't know if they have an app, and they charge some crazy fee. So yeah, I would love to know that too.
I'd love to know that too.
Yeah.
So we were speaking of debt. So my question was, if this guy or a woman gets into debt situation, they still have to balance the family back home. My question, every time people call you from back home, do they check on your mental status?
They check on my mental status after they've asked for the money. Well, that was a joke, but it's not a funny joke. I don't. It's, how can I put this? It's a yes and a no. And sometimes I feel like they will call you with the intention of asking for money, but in the process of it, not to seem rude or appear rude or insensitive, they will
Come on, that's basic talk. How are you doing? How are things
That's what
going?
I'm saying.
That's
But
basic talk.
yes, so I don't think maybe right now in this time frame, I've seen that happen more with my family. But back then, it was more of like, hey, how are you? I'm going through X, Y, and Z. Can you help me? Rarely are they checking to see how you're doing because they think you're fine or they think you're doing good.
Because I think that's the one thing most people go through that families don't know about back home. And the problem is it comes with shame. There's a bit of an ego, but it's mostly shame.
I think it's shame too.
It's mostly shame because even I'm sorry for the people who got deported. I'm sorry. But I think once these people get back home, people start talking about, you've been there for 4 years. What have you done? Look at yourself.
It's sad.
And the problem is, it's only that they don't understand the pressure.
It's a lot.
They don't, because we don't talk about it because of the shame too.
There you go. That's the other thing I was gonna say.
But how would you open up to somebody who you already know, if I pick up this call, it's just I'm broke, I need some money.
It's hard. It becomes hard to open up to these specific people, and I think what we tend to do is, if you don't have like, I think I mentioned before, is if you don't have a community of friends who are here, who understand what you're going through,
Mm-hmm.
that you can relate to or talk to and get an outlet in that manner,
Mm-hmm.
most people end up just building that stuff inside of them. And like you're saying, for the people who are having to get sent home, and then you've been here for what, 10, 15 years, and they're looking at you like, yo, you
You
were
didn't do nothing.
in the US of A.
Mm-hmm.
What have you done? That's the land of opportunity. That's the land of money, honey, whatever.
It is, but before you catch that grip, you're still gripping yourself before you get it.
There you go. And they're not aware of that, because there's no communication between us saying like, yo, life is not what we thought it was. This is actually what it is.
Mm-hmm.
And again, like I said, the other part we discussed, like whether we're creating this monster, because I'm not gonna sit here and see my sister or my sibling suffering.
Mm-hmm.
Even if I'm struggling myself, at the back of your mind, we always run into this idea like, man, life.
I'll go to work and I'll get it. They will not go to work, but I can send them something small.
There you go.
To push them through.
There you go. And they'll never know that you struggle.
No.
Because you never show them that side. You try.
But that's my problem though.
Yes.
That's my problem though. If you pick up that phone that day, I don't know about you. There's no day I've ever received a phone call. Asking. That phone call was just about
purely how you're doing.
Yeah, or
neither have
can we
I.
help you do something? Do you need help with something? That phone will come with an attachment. It's fast money.
Then how you doing?
Just to ease the conversation is just how you doing.
Facts. My question though, and I think, do you feel like it's our responsibility to open up in that manner if you're not doing okay?
It's not our responsibility to do that. You have a parent who's known you from a kid. They will know when you're stressed and when you're not stressed.
Absolutely. They will.
Because parents not learn their kids before anybody else.
Yes. They know.
They will know. So if a parent calls you and they know how, like there's ways parents know, like we can communicate every time, we can make jokes. I can ask you about other family members. I can do this. We can have this long talk.
Yes.
But if you call me on a given day and all I'm just saying is, I'm okay. I just came from work. I need to go to sleep. You're falling short on a conversation that used to be so good. Some parents know that. It's only that they already know I've done my part. They've grown. They've left the house.
Yes.
They made me spend money when they were kids. Now I want them to take care of me.
Like, it's your turn to take care of me. Yeah. Do you think that's the case, or do you also feel like, because I think that could be the case, or also my question.
It's mostly the case.
What about when you think of our the way we communicate as a culture? This
is the thing. Communication was not that good back in the day, because parents will not come from work and tell you, hey, I'm going through something. No. So we've grown enough, and I think at this stage, most parents know. Growing up, it opens up your brain, or it expands to a point.
Yeah.
You already know you have a kid, they're grown. Just because you're going to have a conversation, it doesn't mean they'll feel uncomfortable. They've grown, they've faced life, they've faced things. Ask them, how is things going? True. I know it's tough, but what's wrong? Do you need help? How's your mental status?
What if they don't have the courage or don't know how to ask those things?
What courage do you need though?
I don't think as a parent you need, because if I'm a parent, if my son is going through a thing, I will definitely ask. And I would know when my kid is not okay.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. That's a tough one. But it's the reality.
It's the reality?
It is.
But I was going to say fail us, but they didn't fail us. You did a good job. You did a good job.
No, they haven't failed us.
You did a good job. Yes. I think the society only failed them in their era of growth.
True.
They didn't have that platform or that space of communicating with their parents. But nowadays, we do have that.
We do. And I also would encourage us to also open that channel, that venue, where we have open communication, and like, because I feel like we adapt better than they do. This is what I'll say. I feel like it's my responsibility if I'm not doing okay. And sometimes, and I think I'm going to get a lot of pushback on this. If I'm going through something or season of where I feel like, hey, I need to talk to somebody, I need help, I think it's the responsibility of that person to communicate that. Now, some of the reasons why most of
So
us,
in this aspect, it should be you.
if let's say for example I'm speaking to my mom and I know I'm going through life is lifing around here, and she calls me and we're going through the motions za kawaida tu if I may, like kawaida is like regular, like, hey, how you doing, and I'm just doing the okay, and she doesn't pick up on it, or if she does, she doesn't have the courage to ask me. I should have the courage enough to know, like, this is my mother, and it's okay for her to know me in my vulnerable position or situation. Yeah.
Situations, yeah.
And to undo that idea of like I have to always show up strong and show up like I'm doing okay and show up like everything is okay. Just be like, hey mom, I'm not okay.
And how do you think they will receive it?
That's it might be received well or different, because if that's the first time you've ever been that vulnerable with your mom, she's probably gonna be like, whoa, this doesn't feel like, this is different. So she might either receive it and be like, okay, what's going on, or she might just blankly even ignore it. Fun. But yeah.
So okay, you say that it's okay. Do you think I'm gonna go back again to we called it I forgot the name. I'm gonna go back again at it and ask you, do you think when they ask for money, do you think they ask for more than they should?
Sometimes.
Explain that.
It's, how can I say? I think you touched on it earlier. And I think one thing you touched on is, let's say, for example, not even just your parents, because I feel like parents would be the people who actually don't ask for more than they should, just as a parent. Now, I could be wrong. I've met different parents who don't care, but a parent that, cares about the well-being of their kid, I think parents want their children to be successful, not to have them as a burden to their kids. But that's not all parents. But let's say, for example, it's your sibling. And I know we've expressed, like, let's say, for example, you're helping, take care of the school fees, but then they need like pocket money and something extra to go to school. If they've never known you not to lock, because there's no time where they ask for anything and you lock, they start getting comfortable to where they're like, okay, if I ask for a little bit more,
I'll get it.
I mean, there's no time that they've ever asked for, like, hey, send me something, and you say no.
You say that. I remembered.
Yeah.
There's this behavior of, like, let's say if somebody, or let's say your sibling, asks for, like, let's say keep up money. If they ask you for 5,000, you end up sending like 10,000 because you're like,
because it's not that much.
Yeah. So I think they take that
To me, like,
entitlement. They're like, okay, I know they can do this, and let me ask for 10,000 next time.
So
let me see what they
20.
do. But the problem is when they ask for that 10,000 is when you're like,
wait a minute,
probably they're in more trouble. Let me send 12,000 or 15,000.
There you go.
So they can handle their issue and have some little bit remaining money.
I'm telling you, it is.
Now they will be leveraging on that a lot.
Oh yeah. There comes entitlement.
They'll be leveraging on that a lot, and that they'll start picking up on it too.
Yeah.
Because now they start learning. Oh my God! I think we are creating
there
a monster that we are now creating. Yeah, I think we are creating a monster that we're not supposed to be.
Yeah, but then now the problem becomes when you start trying to put boundaries, that ends up affecting your relationship.
Yeah.
Because now they're in this space where, like, oh, he used to send me money, now he doesn't. And they start feeling like it's almost like you don't like them, or you don't love them, or you don't want the best for them. When in real sense, you're like, no, you're just taking more than you should.
Yeah.
But then do they know that because they've never lacked, because every time they ask, they always receive. If anything, they get more than they asked. And again, it goes back to like, we gotta talk, but how is that talk received? Because I've run into that personally, and it kind of put a strain on my relationship with my family members.
Yeah, it usually does, because at that point, when you have that talk, it's pretty much you're trying to tell them, I'm not trying to take care of you. And they feel like, really? Because we were with you over here, your family. We've been doing things with you. We've been buying things for you when you were down. How comes how comes you have the entitlement to have a way out when we were there for you all the time?
So now they start bringing back all the things like, oh, we were there for you, and now you're in America
these things,
and doing the thing.
I think these things are holding us back. The black tax is pretty much coming back, because I think I remember growing up, your parent will do everything. Once you've grown up, if you start getting money and they ask a loan, not even like, let help me with money. If they ask you for a loan, be like, hey, give me 3,000, I'll refund you. When the refund day reaches, they'll be like, you've been eating in this house. I've been paying your school fees.
The African parent. Facts. They're like, you're asking me for a loan.
I've been paying your school fees. Where do you think that money comes from? At that point, you shut up because you don't even know.
And you start feeling guilty too, because you're like, oh my gosh, she has a point.
She has a point.
Why? Because she's
they will leverage that and use it against you. Because they know it will work all the time.
Oh, dear gosh. Question for you. Do you think that as kids, do you think we have a responsibility to take care of our parents?
I've had these discussions going on. They're going on in Kenya a lot. People keep on saying, your parents' responsibility was to take care of you.
True.
You've grown up. You have to pick up on you. So your responsibility is not your parent. Your responsibility is you in the relationship you are, or the kids you're going to have in the future. Because if the problem comes between you having to raise your own and still having to raise your family back again.
True.
So now you're backlashing or you're falling back, because it's still going back to history.
It does. But
you're backsliding, honestly.
But what point do you feel like it becomes our responsibility? Because what you're saying is true. Because I believe that there's a period in our life where you're building your life, you're getting your own family, you're building your own relationships. And what you said is so important, because the job of our parents was to raise us to a point where we were able to take care of ourselves. And I feel like your independence and being able to be okay is actually you indirectly taking care of your parents, because they don't have to worry about you. But I also feel like there's a certain point in their life that I will have to take over taking care of them, like in their old age.
That will be in their old age. True. But they still depend on you until they're old again. So you're like,
life.
It's life, but come on. We have to get to a point. And I think that's it's a psychology thing for us. It will not get away. But honestly, I think parents need to understand too. The economy these days is not the economy it used to be back then.
That is true. Like that is absolutely true.
Because back then she could come with just two, how you call it? I was gonna say two folds. But she could come with only kales and meat. And that will run you for 3 meals.
That's true.
Nowadays, you come with kales and meat, it can only run you for 1.5 or 2 meals maximum.
Life is more expensive.
It's more expensive. Because the packaging back then. Do you remember buying kales for 5 shillings? How much?
It was a lot.
Yeah. I don't know. Nowadays, there's no 5 shillings kales.
No. What is $5? And I feel like even 1,000 shillings is
not $5, 5 shillings.
Oh, 5 shillings.
$5 is a lot.
That's a lot.
5 shillings used to get you a lot of kales.
I believe like life is just expensive, and it's getting more expensive because.
And the statistics, I think I've watched a business interview. The life has grown by 120%. the income has only grown by, is it 20 or 30%?
Oh, I believe that wholeheartedly. I feel
So
like,
the catch up is so far,
yes, yes. It's hard to
we
catch
cannot
up.
even sustain.
No, life is not
Let's
sustainable.
give a good example. With the farming industry right now being affected in the United States, how much do you think food will cost in the near for 5
Oh my
months to
God,
come?
I don't even know if I want to predict that because, whew, as we are right now, on average, I feel like even if I was to give an example with my family, on average, maybe let's say easily in a month, not even in a month, in a week. I think every week I would say on average I use $100 to buy food.
Oh, in a week?
Yeah.
Okay. I'd
Let's
say
say,
I'd say it's almost, but that's different. It's not really that different, but I think it hits home honestly.
it does.
Because I spend $200 bi-weekly on groceries.
And that's just you.
Yeah.
Now think if you have family, you have kids, you have a husband and a wife.
That will cost you more.
Exactly.
Twice or triple.
There you go. And let's say you whatever you're doing is not earning you more, so you're not even catching up. There's no catch up here because if what I'm bringing home hasn't.
And that's why they say
kept up.
we live paycheck to paycheck. You miss one paycheck, yeah,
Yeah,
your life falls back.
Wow.
But anyway, guys, we've talked a lot. Those are the topic we had today. It was two topics. We've discussed them. We've blatted a lot. If we said something that you relate to, if it offended you, let us know. We can rectify that next time. We'll try and give you better feedbacks and all that. But let us know what you think about what we talked about today. And let us know if you picked up on something good, positive, or negative. But it's a learning curve for somebody else who hasn't traveled. Honestly, it is.
Yeah.
Just know life is not what you see from back home.
True.
With that being said, deuces until next time.
Bye.
Bye.